Here we are, Dr. Zoo, episode 75, 25th of May, 2026. Great to be here. A little bit of an intro there was Heat Seeker, one of the all-time greats, ACDC. You love it, people, and that's what we're doing. We are on a Heat Seeker. All good in Thailand. Welcome, Thailand. A fantastic bunch of people up there. William and the team. As we know, people might should do a bit of homework. He's doing an amazing job with preservation of animals up there, and particularly a wonderful, wonderful group that are looking after the elephants up there in the Mekong. So cheerio to all the villagers down there. Mind-blowing that we've got a great bunch up there. And also big, massive cheerio to our great, wonderful friends in the Bahamas, Wayne and Parrish. I know you're out there. I know you listen. It's late at night. You're an amazing group of people, and we're doing a lot of things in the background so that we can untap the hidden resources of the great Bahamas. It's a beautiful spot up there, the Bahamas. And if you get a chance, you need to wander into those turquoise waters, crystal clear, beautiful, 25 degrees. And you get out there and you get the most I never forget, actually, wandering down there. The boys took us to some of the places, and I think it's the Seven Sisters. We met 6 of them. Don't know where the 7th was, but the best lobsters on the planet. They grow them especially over there, like you wouldn't believe. You sit there and there they are, ready to be eaten underneath the table as you look down through the glass bottom into the ocean. Unbelievable. And Willie T's. I'll never forget Willie T's out in the boat. What an awesome time that was. Plenty to see and do, people. But here we are, back in Australia land, where we've touched on some subjects. We've tried to give the young people a bit of a hand on how to have their structures. The feedback, by the way, has been unbelievable. People wanting to protect their assets. So we're going to get the boys to don't be in a rush yet, so don't rush in and ring too soon. We had too many calls on that already, but we'll certainly get some free access for you to some trust structures. They've been tightened up a bit more because of Jimbo and Albo. They're backtracking a little bit, the boys, because they're in a bit of trouble, but we will make sure that you can at least have structures that'll give you the opportunity for down the road where you can minimise your CGT issues. It's called a deferral, legal and proper, and you can have asset protection because of the structures that you don't want to go down with the normal course of events by trying to have a corporate structure, and you end up in a real difficult bind with the corporations laws and also the tax laws as well. But you can minimise the effects of all that. That's been proven throughout Dr. Zoo's journey. And I think you'll, especially now with your coins, because you get to this point, you come this far, you've taken the risks, and the last thing is you don't need a freeloader. You don't need a freeloader like Jimbo or Albo getting a free ride on your tail for the risks you've taken with your Zucoins, people. You know, everybody does the hard work. Price goes through the roof. Dr. Zoo's running around out there with his Gulfstream 800, G800, and then all of a sudden we've got to carry in the back of the plane the entourage, which is the Albo entourage that want Chris Bowen and Jimbo in the back of the plane, and Albo and a couple of those other wallies out there that they've got in government at the moment. It wouldn't be good. In fact, it's a bit sad, really, because Dr. Zoo would have to sort of invite probably Jacinta Allen for a bit of a trip every now and again, because she's giving a lot of problems in Victoria, as we know. But the good news is land tax drops down in Victoria, because you can rest assured that when they start burning the places down, the values have dropped, and therefore there's less land tax. Now, what a concept! What a concept in central Melbourne. You get the place burnt down, nightclubs and all the rest of it. Someone said to Dr. Zoo on the weekend, actually, we need more country and western music. We need more of that Nashville feeling in this country. It's powerful stuff, line dancing, girls like you wouldn't believe, blokes are incredible dancers, all the rest of it. Country and western. Just think about that, people. It'd be awesome. Now, little chats today. So listen, go back onto Zucoins.com. Check out the article 70. Hang on, I'll start again. Had a bit of a blank there. 32, I think it is. which is all about the updates and how we're sitting with AUSTRAC's applications. I did have a chat to a lady on Friday about just making sure that the applications are all properly recorded and in process with AUSTRAC, because there was no actual email or response in the portal that had said that was sent, which was sent by this office on the 12th of May, as per the updates we rushed out and give everybody. You've seen the applications. Good in the Philippines. Hey, welcome aboard, Philippines. Fantastic. We had a team of people over there at one stage during the journey, and they loved it. So glad to see the Philippines is listening in. That's awesome stuff. We've got some there I can see too. I know one of them in particular, which is late at night there, but no doubt Monaco. Great to see Monaco. Now there's a place that they know what they're doing. No taxes at all. Seriously wealthy people. Bit tight in terms of land space. You get a Formula One Grand Prix every year, and it's an extraordinary tax haven, all because of the change in attitude in terms of how you can get money from people without actually having to bleed them to death. It's a great idea. It's a great concept. Now, what we're talking about is the follow through from AUSTRAC. So we followed that through on Friday just to make doubly sure. They don't actually send an email back, but they have confirmed on the record that yes, we are in the system, because what you don't want to get is you don't really want any short-term feedback from AUSTRAC as more information, because then it triggers this 90-day thing. So at this stage, they've got it. It's there. It's in the system. We've given them a powerful amount of information, and we are really, really hoping that that comes through real quick. Now, we had our team meetings, as we do, people, with the devs. Riley, that's the Zutopia side of the ledger. That team is going great guns, and they're really experimenting pretty hard on this solutions to do with this deep links to try and see if we can sort that out. In fact, we had one of our great Zucoin holders. He knows who he is, listens to the show, and it was interesting. The very problem we talked about is what he was trying to address with a lady that was heading to Europe today, or in the morning actually, 5 o'clock, and had trouble with the exact point we've been talking about. So that was an eye-opener as to why we need to sort of sort that out. But I think they're getting on top of it. I think the Flux boys are really starting to drill down. It may not be 100% perfect, but it will solve the issues that we talked about while we're in waiting mode for AUSTRAC to come on board. I was a bit torn about the AUSTRAC people. As I said to you, it's a very loosely arranged set of words. The making arrangements is the words in the AML CTF Act as amended in 2024 and effective from 2026, which you can see on the website. And on the one hand, we really shouldn't be required to have to drill down on every person that goes through the thing, because we've got stripes there and the banks are supposed to be doing their job. But nevertheless, that's the, if it comes in and they make that discretion and they decide that we don't need to be licensed, that's great. If on the flip side they do, then we just wear that. Dr. Zoo will trim back his overheads on the weekends and probably not go out for 7 or 8 months until the coins are, $1,000 a coin, and cover the overheads that are required for the compliance costs on getting more onboarding verification for KYC, etc., etc. Now, you guys don't have to worry about that. That's just going to par for the course. We know in the Easy Bond days, very lucky that we had that in play, because millions were spent through that process to get systems in place and protocols and compliance documents and all that sort of stuff ready. And we can spill that into quite readily, which is what the application is for Zutopia. So we wait on Zutopia, and then the boys are busy on that front with that issue. Also, Riley and the team have been very, very excited and busy on fine-tuning version 2 of Zukaz. That's going to be huge. They'll probably get an MVP version out not too far away that you guys can test and see how wonderful that works, because that really is a heat-seeking combination of acceleration of people in their mass marketing campaigns and how that operates with merchants creating tokenized value, which is the big talk of the town, people. We look, Dr. Zoo, he's almost like Nostradamus sometimes. You can go back on the record and you can see what we talked about with tokenization and with our CTO, the great Robert Novak. This has been a massive, massive play of building scalability for SplitChain, getting it in preparation so you can have billions and billions of transactions and you don't blink an eyelid as to it being in a position to be able to handle it. And we are pumped about how that's working out so far, especially 100,000 transactions per second, if not more. That is that's the direction of how you see it with SplitChain and Zucoins. And of course, once you get your grubby hands on these Zukaz wallets, you probably won't give them up. You'll be able to, swipe left or right, lock in your favorite merchants, lock in your favorite products. And in fact, Dr. Zoo was working overtime Saturday night. I know that's a shock, a horror. You people out there that are enjoying your families and having a few drinks and things, but Dr. Zoo was talking to a couple of people, and one in particular, a young fella, he's a bit of a gun, coding and all the rest of it, was blown away. Blown away. Never heard about Zucoins or stuff before, just on the fringe, but certainly coming from his background and very high level marketing and some big contracts and things, that could see the way of the future is exactly the way Dr. Zoo's been describing it. And that was a great test case, especially a bit of racket going on in the background. There's a lot of happy people. We weren't very happy with the horse race, by the way. It was a tough gig. It was tough. It's tough. And then we were a bit flat. And, but we pulled ourselves together. We regrouped and then got into some high level discussions despite a few drinks as well. And the outcome was fantastic. To see the look on this young entrepreneur's face, wanting to now beat Albo and Jimbo, was concerned about all the issues, and we flagged with him how to restructure. We flagged about his businesses coming across the line and helping with what we do marketing-wise and how that can be explosive for developers. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. It was a bit more than a 30-second elevator pitch, but this is the sort of things that you can do when you know you've got confidence in the underlying products, because we have. Now, that's where Riley's at. So he's right into the Zukaz world. We've got another group, a little gang that's busy on revamping the Zucoin website and also playing games with, or will be, with the Zutopia website and the Zukaz website. So things are really simmering underneath. It's the heat-seeking stuff we talk about, people. We are going to make sure that the world hears big time about what's happening not too far away. And that also assists with the information flows that you can look at. Now, let's just work our way through that. The final bit was our unbelievable. We have a meeting on Mondays with the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, Robert Novak. Mind-blowing stuff. Now, I'm not going to give away too many secrets what he's doing, but holy crap. You'll have to watch this space. You'll have to watch this space for what he is pulling together, that other crypto are in serious doo-doo. Serious doo-doo. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Moderna, you name it. In fact, there was an article about the NFT world is blown up. Boom, that's gone. That didn't last long. You buy 69 million ape as an NFT and it's worth 12,000 bucks. I don't know how the maths works on that, people, but it doesn't work. It didn't work. It had no utility. It had no upside. Pure, unadulterated greed and speculation. And it was a train wreck, that entire concepts in relation to how all of that worked. The bottom line of the digital core of asset value transferability is crucial, and that's the tick boxes that Zucoins, SplitChain, and then obviously the marketing arms of Zukaz have solved. We are in box seat, and Robert is on fire. He's on fire. Shake it and bake it, he said. Shake it and bake it. That's what we're doing. I won't give away any more what he's going to be coming out with, but it's just another extraordinary layer on top of what you boys and girls will be seeing, you Zuconians, you early adopters, you risk takers, you anti-sharing creatures of No More with Albo and Jimbo, to become wealthy and contribute back to society through that wealth. There's plenty of ways to push that money back into society without having to worry about Jimbo and Albo putting it in ridiculous and stupid projects. In fact, on the weekend, there's two things that we can briefly touch on. You've got the update there. You will get some really big updates. And let me tell you, as soon as a email or document or confirmation, I can assure you, that comes in from AUSTRAC, one way or the other, we will pump that out straight away, and we will make sure that we will get that green button pressed. And the team's working overtime to try and tie that in with, in case it comes early, because it could do. It could come early. Could wake up next week and boom, boom, shakalaka. There it is. And we've got to be right on the ball. The team's got a little window of opportunity here to tighten the noose around that last Apple thing of, removing the copy and paste and bringing that into an instant install, and it'll be game on. There's nothing like it. Then you'll get some big updates that'll come through on the main core Zucoin wallet and what's going on there. It is, it's going to put us so far ahead of the curve, it's not funny. Won't even be a curve. Forget the curve. There's no curve. That's for all the old losers out there, the Bitcoins, the lack of vision, the lack of planning that went into Satoshi. And I've said it before, more than happy to take Satoshi on. If he calls in anytime to Dr. Zoo, happy to interview Satoshi and talk about the disillusionment that he has with the way in which Bitcoin is causing problems for the general masses in terms of the way in which it operates with increased fees and cost miners. The blockchain is getting worse. And then there's that big lurky out there. That big lurky. I don't know whether you know what I mean, but we'll talk more about that lurky that they're worried about, called quantum. That's all we'll touch on. Quantum computing. It's going to wreck the joint. It is going to wreck the joint. Right, Dr. Zoo is on the record telling you now, here and now, that is a big one. But don't worry. It's been on Robert's agenda and well prepared and planning for a couple of years now. And we're going to see some really, really hot stuff coming. So just be prepared for that. Now, listen, there's a couple of things that I wanted to raise. One was I was going to chat about today, and there's sort of, hand in glove sort of scenarios, because it's about the general population and how tough it is in this space with crypto, because there's so much mud that's sticking on projects and things about being scams. Now, we've tried to make sure that there's a Dr. Zoo. He talks to people whoever he wants, literally all week. Doesn't matter who it is. Dr. Zoo's got some friends that have got a lot of money. You've got people that have got their ass in a sling. And it's an opportunity, especially if some of those councillors are thinking that they're listening in on this show today from Albury City Council. Get your act together. And, when we're ready with the price of coins, you cannot keep people living in tents down by the river. That's an insanity. Surely there's money that can be moved around for homelessness and people that can be directed at higher levels, whether it's state, federal, or otherwise. Even if they just put on the back burner, government, Albo, you're listening, don't worry about the 273 million to the National Institute of Measurement. We all know how to measure, and if we can't, well, so be it. It's not as perfect as we would have thought. We're out by 1 or 2 millimeters. No one cares. You can get some great equipment these days that are very accurate, but that may be better directed towards people that are not as well off as Albo with his 4 homes, right? He's locked in his pre-CGT. He's happy. Got his parliamentary payments that are coming every year till the day he dies, and he doesn't give a stuff. It's in the super. But there are people down by the river right now. And if Dr. Zoo was in a stronger position, he'd be down there trying to help them, which he will. Got to get this sorted out first. There's that much cash burn rate here because it's a lot of responsibility with 11 of 12,000 early adopters, and get that up and about. And that's exactly why we stay focused on the project and tightening things up and doing this the best shot we can. That by the time you guys start trading, you'll wake up and say, holy crap, how did that happen? Because it's happened as a result of hard work, bit of foresight, and learning from all the screw ups from everybody else, and particularly in this industry, the way it's going. Now, let's just touch on one of the most absurd, bizarre, crazy scenarios that Dr. Zoo's come across. Now, at some stage, you don't want this. Look, there's been 13.4 million coins vaporized. When I say vaporized, Dr. Zoo means gone, gonski, like the Hock 2 coin, 430 million went AWOL in 24 hours because it was all crap. Right? It was speculation, bubble, market manipulation we talked about all through the exchanges. And there's a certain gaggle of bodies of people that are very good at scamming and false websites and phishing and all sorts of things that they get. The retail, which is the you and I's of the world, and the Zuconians and those, they're going to try and attack and take wealth away from you through these scams, right? You don't send anything to anybody you don't know. You've got the two-factor authentication in the Zucoin wallet. You've got some strength in where it's going. It doesn't go to crazy, ridiculous wallet addresses to lose your coins. You've got the backup there, so you know where to do that. There's a whole lot of mechanisms that have been put in place for protection of the consumer level. That's our mandate and has been from day dot. Day dot, right? That's why we've got Zutopia going down the hard roads at the moment, but certainly Zutopia has been designed to take everything responsibility away from the exchange or the marketplace and leave it in your sovereign control. You control the transfer of coins, you control the way the money goes straight to your accounts, and that's the advantage that we see, and that's also compliant, which makes a big tick. Now, the problem is governments get a bit excited and they want to try and catch the crooks, which is admirable. It's fantastic. That's what's got to happen. But surely, with today's technology, with today's AI, with all the firepower of equipment on the planet, you'd think the FBI would find a better solution than what they've come up with to catch the crooks. Now, certainly, what I'm referring to is extraordinary. It's mind-blowing, actually. It is mind-blowing that in order to catch the crooks, you become a crook. All right, have a think about that for a minute. You become a crook to catch the crooks. Now, this is the most bizarre case that's really, I mean, certainly there are moments when regulators and bodies and governments and things have entrapment. Now, that's where they get tricky. They lure the criminal into a sense of entrapment through the way in which the criminal then becomes the one that's facing down the barrel of, you know, how the governments or whatever want to entrap you, law enforcement, which is that's been standard practice since the, you know, Julius Caesar was entrapped by his own, you know, great mates in the Senate. And what did he do? March 15, boom, copped it fair in the back, and that was the end of it. So that's an example of entrapment. He might have been a terrible dictator and a bad man, and he might have done some good things as well, but he certainly got entrapped by those around him. And that's the philosophy that can happen with regulators who must and should do the right thing and get hold of these crooks. And there's a normal course of flow of events as to how that can happen. Right? Generally, there's a radar goes up, and generally there's been a fraud committed. But in the case of crypto, we've seen 13.4 million coins gone. We've seen pump and dump schemes. We've had all these ridiculous concepts. We've had $20 billion plus of people's monies lost. On October the 15th, that memorable week in 2025, we had all of those retail 1.9 million accounts ripped off because they set it up with pump and dumps. And the bloke in the street copped it. Wasn't the big players. The big players can short sell the crypto and make their money. But this case is about what was called under the FBI Operation Token Mirrors. Operation token mirrors. If you look it up, it is unbelievable. So what happens is they say, look, the FBI gets together with all its IT people and says, let's create a legitimate looking token, an ERC20. So they go off and build their own token. And the token is called the NexFund AI on Uniswap. Sounds good, looks good, and it should raise tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Nobody knows it's the FBI coin, by the way. This is just a brand new token that comes out of nowhere. They set it up like any other normal process. It had a professional website. There was a white paper touting it as AI-powered investing with a large token supply. The undercover agents, you can imagine, dark suits, a little bit of a hat. You know, they've got the sound systems in their ear, listening to each other. And they posed as the founders. They solicited market-making services, and they documented how firms like Gotbit, MyTrade, CLS Global, and ZM Quant offered wash trading, bot-driven fake volumes, and roller coaster chart manipulation to lure in, guess what? People like us, the retail players, the people that have got the money there looking for upside. Now, I've got to say there's a disclosure here. If this had happened in Australia, we would be the targets of the regulator to try and set this up, to try and catch the manipulators, which is where these firms were, who are leading all these wash trading and stuff. Now, you'd think there's so much wash trading already, you wouldn't need to catch them again. You could have a look at whatever else they've got and put them in the clink anyway. But no, they built this new token, NexFund AI token, offered all these U-Butte things. But they lured the retail sector, the mums and dads, to come into this coin as though it was real in order to catch the crooks. But they didn't tell anybody about that. They couldn't tell anybody about that. They had to pretend it was real. But in the process, yes, they led to 18 people being arrested and entities, millions seized, guilty pleas, and exposure and manipulation in the projects. However, guess who were the losers, even with the FBI involved at the back end? The retail sector. Can you believe that? Hundreds of millions of dollars lost because they suckered in the very people they were trying to protect. I mean, this is something out of a bad movie. Dr. Zoo, when he read this, thought, shit, maybe Dr. Zoo really is trapped in the Matrix or Truman Show 3.0, and there's a big bubble and everybody's laughing about this whole thing happening in the real world while they're watching this go on and playing its way through the economic system of how to catch crooks. Now, the retail investors bought the tokens from the FBI due to the artificial hype that they created. And when the liquidity was pulled in order to catch the crooks, everybody lost all their money because there was no token. Can you believe it? All down the toilet. Now, the FBI says, look, we had to take this unprecedented step in order to gather the direct evidence and the recordings and internal docs in a pseudonym type environment with a global market. The goal was to disrupt the systematic fraud that bilked honest investors out of millions by targeting enablers rather than symptoms. Undercover guidelines allowed limited participation. In other words, they also committed crimes as part of the FBI on the basis that this was justified. Now, proponents have argued since that it deters future manipulation, disables tools, but the industry is thriving. It just shifts itself to some other place, like Kim Jong-un. I mean, here he is, sitting up there, and he's got the best hacking team in the world, and he's knocking off billions. Well, who's gonna take money off that bloke? Who's going to go and visit North Korea? I mean, please, you can't be serious. Now, the problem is, people, you've got these sort of tactics when you think with all the technology on the planet and the AI and everything else that the FBI has at its disposal and every other regulator, that surely you could focus in on the crooks and get them without having to go to the extreme of people now seeking restitution against the FBI for the loss of their savings. It's the most bizarre, crazy incident you could possibly think of. Now, by actively creating and promoting a fake token, the FBI was able to successfully mimic the scams. It was complete with fake volumes to attract buyers. The FBI became a direct participant in the very market distortion it prosecutes. This caused direct financial harm to individuals, innocent people, who may or may not ever get their money back through the FBI. Imagine trying to sort out a claim in government again. I mean, Dr. Zoo is in his 27th year of sorting out a claim against the Australian government. Can you imagine trying to, oh, well, Your Honour, I'm sorry, but the FBI was a part of the criminal organisation that was masking itself as a criminal in order to catch the criminals, but in the process I've lost all my money and, hundreds of millions of dollars down the toilet. Now, this highlights a means versus ends problem. Should governments, and let's look at the broader picture, because it doesn't matter whether they want to take 47% off you, whether they want to do it in a way that they purport to say they've got the legislation and all the rest of it, and they get the CGT and they change it and they move the goalposts, and next thing you've spent 50 years putting money into super and you're not worth pissing on because they've changed the goalposts. They want to take that. They've run out of money and they say this is a means to an end. Whether it's the FBI in this instance or whether it's regulators or whether it's the tax, doesn't matter. You need to have some element of pushback with sovereign control of what you own. That's the whole point. Use the same mechanisms for protection. Protect the assets and hard-earned monies you got and try and push back. Because otherwise, this is the craziness of what can happen. Now, the FBI had alternatives here. They didn't have to go to this drastic measure and now face this litigation. They are a very powerful technology-driven surveillance organisation. They've got AI at their disposal. They've got blockchain analytics in the chains that they can look at. They've got companies like Chainalysis, TRM Labs, Elliptic, other academic open source models that can detect and track and quite readily, easily find the source of these scams. And where are the exchanges? I mean, with all of the KYC that they've got to have and all the compliance and everything else, no wonder there's less than a 1% success rate of the global crooks having a great time. They're just slushing it around wherever they want because none of this stuff has been put in play actually works. Now, I say at this point, I don't know the bloke from VASP. Dr. Zoo hasn't met him, but I did flag this to you people about how it's the old story. You use peanuts, you end up with monkeys. All right? You use peanuts, you get monkeys. And that's the same with politicians. They get into Parliament in a packet of Wheatie, a Wheatie packet. They get elected, they sit there, and then we expect them to perform and challenge and check the legislation that's going through. Now, what a hypocrite. The other night, can't remember what night it was, but one of the nights, David Pocock, independent, is telling Sky News, guess what? It's important for every politician not to just have legislation rammed through the House or the Senate and make sure that it's thoroughly considered with a thorough process of all of the little nitsy bitsies that are in this new draft legislations, especially the CGT. This is this bloke telling everybody on Sky, this is what you've got to do. If you're a politician, you do your job. You make sure the legislation goes through. Now, this is the same bloke that rammed through with Jackie Lambie we talked about the other day, the amendments to the AML CTF Act 2024, effective in 2026, with two words left inserted into the Act that's now got us where we are and everybody else on the planet, potentially those two words without checking what it means or what the effect of it will have commercially and regulatory. And the words are, quote, making arrangements, unquote. That's the hook that's dragged us back into the AUSTRAC. Now, that's okay. We don't mind. We'll comply with it. And we'll do all the things we can, and we'll make sure we catch all the criminals if we can, and suspicious transaction reporting and making sure people are real and all the rest of it. Done that before. That's fine. But, in fact, that's what we did with good old Charlie Scoville many years ago. Got bagged out for that. He turned out a beauty. He's currently serving time. And in addition to that, he got a bit of an extended time because he was a sexual predator, child sexual predator. So that's on the record. But that came about through compliance and KYC. Now, 2 words. And both Jackie and David and the Greens, another complete collection of fruitcakes, all of those didn't bother sitting up and looking at the explanatory notes that even the Liberals and the Nationals had put up and said, just be careful because this could have a cost-effective hit to the small sector and businesses of 13.4 billion over the next 10 years. And what do? They don't even look at it. They pass it, and here we are. Here we are. And he's educating people on how to look at the legislation. You know, this country needs people. It needs and I think the price will be right. At about $10,000 a Zucoin, Dr. Zoo's ready to put his hand up and start one of the world's first legal funds that challenges the legislation created by these dimwits. No doubt there's a bunch of bureaucrats that are having a great time because they slot all this stuff in. They don't check it. I mean, who's going to check 1,000 pages of dribble? I mean, there'd be a handful of people that'll bother checking this legislation that might go through this week. And he'll say, you know, it doesn't apply to people that have got small businesses with, you know, 1 employee and a budget of 50,000 a year and all this sort of crap. Forget about the people who want vision, like this young bloke we met on Saturday. We just talked about this developer. He wants a big organisation. He wants to create a massive industry in this sector of excitement, technology, and more employees. And he wants the incentives to do that. I mean, it's a frigging nightmare. Payroll tax in Victoria. Boom. There's the first problem. And all of a sudden, we're stuck with it. So what do we want to do? We want to look at nipping it in the bud before it gets royal assent by the Governor-General. We can look at it constitutionally. We go back to our founding fathers in 1901. They were geniuses. Sir Samuel Griffith, the boys, they knew what they were doing. They knew the structure. They put it in play to protect us all, and we're not using it. So that's one of the things that Dr. Zoo would like to roll out, is have a body that independently assesses with the support of AI that can magically crawl through thousands and thousands of unbelievable bits and pieces that they try to sneak in on all forms of legislation and highlight and say, hey, ooh, back off, big fellas. This ain't going through. This isn't going through Parliament because guess what? We have the constitutional right, if it's a constitutional issue, to challenge it and thump it straight through to the High Court and get rid of the crap. That's where this country's got to be, people. Because otherwise it's getting out of hand. You get people, the Teals and all the rest of it, and the Greens, and they don't care. They just pass this stuff. And you're going to see it this week. You're going to see it. Look, it's going to be ramrodded through. The Greens will do some ridiculous deal like, you know, saving the red-eye ant up there that lives in Queensland for $50 million. You know, that'll be the offset. And all of a sudden we've got this CGT problem, big problem, which is starting to worry not only the older people, the old boomers and stuff, but certainly the young ones. It's their future that's getting wrecked. And then you have regulators, which circles back to the FBI, creating these schemes, justifying they've caught 18 people, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. That's 18 less wombats taking money. But what's the cost? $500 million of real people's money, now people chasing it to get out of the court. It's unbelievable. Now, that is a slippery slope, people. That is a slippery slope when the FBI, and that could happen here in Australia, don't worry, creating a fake company pumping the stock falsely, using wash trade falsely, attracting retail buyers, then indicting the manipulators, while all along harming the poor people at the front end, who are the retailers. Now, the question I got in that scenario is that if the government bodies were so keen on catching the 18, why didn't they set up phony retail investors as part of the government? Why didn't they have Albo and Jimbo be part of the ploy to capture the 18 crooks? Because it spills into other jurisdictions. I mean, why don't politicians put their hand up and be part of the entrapment and use their money? Maybe that's a good idea, and protect everybody else. And they can say, hey, look, how good's this? We achieved a successful prosecution and we've lost our superannuation, but we'll get it back eventually, maybe in 10 or 15 years when our own government decides to pay some of that back because we were part of the program, rather than just being passive players in the game. Maybe that's the situation. Now, we're saying someone's got no audio. Can we get a thumbs up there? Because we're about coming to wind the show down. And let's just see. We got a back again. That's great news. All good stuff. Now, there's a couple of questions there we'll wrap up with today, people. We have yeah, that's true. Fortunate traveller. What a joke. The elected politicians do nothing. We have to pay them until they die. If I sell my business, the new owners do not pay me anything after they buy it, not like our arsehole politicians. Well, I think there's been one good thing about what's happened recently is a bit of a shake-up and understanding as to just how much an issue having elected people with very little skill sets sitting in. I think it was the last count was 83. But now there's nothing against being in a union or workforce employment. Don't get me wrong. Some really hard-working people that Dr. Zoo knows that are protecting their rights, and you've got to have some sort of a safety valve for all industries as well. But when you're dealing in an area where there's a specialist area and you're talking about people taking risks, if you are on a payroll and you're happy and content in your life and you go to the pub every Friday night or whatever it is and you're having a great family environment and you're content, that's the scope of your ambitions. And that's, a lot of people want to enjoy that contentment. That's a standard practice. But if you put your hand up and you start to put other assets in your house up for mortgage in order to open up a coffee shop, and the failure rates in the first 12 months is phenomenal. And that includes all of the things that come with it. You are worried about the electricity bill. You are worried about payroll tax. You are absolutely stressing about your VASP statement. You've got more employees to worry about now. You might have 10 that's just come into the business and they're part of your life. That becomes you got to shoulder that. And then all of a sudden you try and build the business. You want to have two shops, like, our great friends next door, Harry and Guru. They want to open up, but they've got a vision. They want to open up a chain of these things. I think they've got 3 or 4 now. And now all of a sudden the brakes have been put on. They say, well, what the hell for? So that we can do what we do, take all these risks and give Albo and Jimbo 47%. You've got to be kidding. And they need an exit strategy. Everywhere they turn, there's legal fees, there's costs, there's lawyers, all the rest of it, accounting. It gets worse and worse. So that, people, is really the big issue in terms of how you handle this, based on the balance between, yes, people do need to pay and contribute, and that's why in an earlier briefing, Dr. Zoo suggested, quite rightly, that a 1% flat tax on every transaction in the country, including the big guns, the big corporates, and FX, and monies that comes through on a daily basis, which is statistically available from the Reserve Bank of Australia, and you can see it in the 2026 federal budget. If you do that, and you have that as a flat 1%, you either become a saver or a spender. There would be zero other taxes in this country. No company tax, no individual tax rates. no payroll, no land tax, no stamp duty, no rates, no council taxes, no FBT, no nothing, no more tax acts. Chuck them all in the shitter. That would raise $1.1 trillion, and there's a cost saving on the revenue side of about $200 billion a year. That alone, people, would pull back the debt within 3.5 years, plus interest savings across the top. And then you need people in Parliament that are accountable for how they spend it. They don't just willy-nilly go and say, this is a great idea. Let's send $273 million to the National Institute of Measurement. That was a good idea. And we've had some great ideas over the years, and I still can't see where or the effect of how. I mean, what a great idea that was to give during COVID all that money to people. And all they did was drank themselves stupid, got on the pokies, and bought a TV set. Fantastic. So that was a great idea, that one. That worked well. And now we're going to do the same. We're going to give $6.4 billion next year of $250. What in the hell are you going to do with $250? I mean, you can't even pool it. You can't even get together with a group of people and say, look, let's pool the $250 and turn that into $1 million as a pool, because ASIC will be coming around the corner saying you're now in breach of the corporations law. Right? You've got a managed investment scheme. So there's your first regulatory roadblock to being a bit inventive, even if you've got that money. So what's the better idea? Bugger it. Just buy some drinks and alcohol and a couple of cigarette packets, and that's about the end of it. In fact, I don't think you get much for it with the cigarette packets, but there you go. Now, we've got a little question here. We've got, hi Al, there's been a lot of kidnappings for Bitcoin lately. Is there anything in play to get your Zucoins back if that happens? Well, if you get kidnapped, that's about the end of it. You get a free trip, you get a free wagon trip, because the idea is that you protect your Zucoins and you can put them with other people, and you want to steer clear of that, because you don't want to be on the radar with the kidnapping side of things there, because that then leads into some of the excitement that you see around Italy with the mafia, and they were quite happy to kidnap and knock off family members and all sorts of things. So that's a real worry. Now that interestingly should be the play of the day with the regulators. There's been a few of that happening in Europe and South America, is that if they focus on the outcomes of kidnapping, which generally, I think even Paul Getty, you might have seen the movie there with the great man, his oil wealth, billionaire, and might have been his grandson, had his ear chopped off, and he wouldn't pay the ransoms, and eventually it all sort of, it all went pretty pear-shaped there for a while. That sort of stuff would be far greater time and resources spent to stop people dying, and then you've got the regulatory issues rather than pretending to be involved with a pump and dump scheme to try and catch these 18 people, which mind-blowingly you couldn't catch with their current activities, which we've been alluding to for some time, of what's been happening over the last few years anyway. It's not like it hasn't happened. So it's been out and about for a long time, and I don't know. I still don't know how the banks, with all their KYC and everything else, can't identify who these clowns are from around the world if this system works so well. I mean, surely they wake up one day and say, gee, where did that $20 million come from? Wow, that was a beauty. Yeah, I had that on race 6. I mean, the money's got to come and end up somewhere, and there's got to be question as to how and hell it arrived. Not the $500 transfer Dr. Zoo did the other week for alligator blood, but there you go. Maybe that needs more tightening up with the flows of monies and what's going on. Well, people, I think we're going to get to the end here. Nothing coming through. Maybe refresher going or open, because people can hear. So I'm not sure about how that's going to work. But there you go. This is the wind up now for Dr. Zoo today. We've got some really interesting stuff to talk about Thursday. We shall give you a bit of a heads up on Elon Musk on Thursday, because that is real borderline crazy shit there, right there, that SpaceX IPO of 2026. It's one of the most extraordinary capital raising concepts ever. I think in the 80s, if someone came up with that clever proposal on how to raise $1.5 trillion value out of what comes in the door in that business, which we'll talk about, they most of them in the 80s would have been in jail, because it's borderline crazy. And maybe the regulators should have tested some of the modelling that was done in that project, rather than worrying about getting us all out to Mars and sitting out there in a new building in Mars waiting for DoorDash to arrive with the McDonald's deliveries. Who knows? But we'll go through that, because it's interesting and amazingly crazy stuff. That is real crazy stuff, well beyond where the FBI is. So thanks again, people. Let's just leave it at that and regroup. I shall see you all back in action on Thursday. Cheers, people.